Hello y'all, and welcome to the Hillbilly Chicken Ranch. I'm Susan, I'm your hostess, and we are in the kitchen today getting ready to can. We are going to be using the Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving, and I am going to be doing stewed tomatoes and vegetables found on page 378. This book can be found on Amazon if you're interested in it. Now, I'm not sure that I have enough tomatoes. I haven't chopped them up yet, but you want some good firm tomatoes. These are Amish. These came from Amish country. You're going to need some bell pepper, some onion, and some celery. You're also going to need a little bit of sugar. You're going to need a little bit of salt, and you're going to need citric acid or lemon juice. And these will be pressure canned. You do not hot water bath stewed tomatoes. So I've done several batches of these. I thought I had already done the video up. I couldn't find the video in my video search. So we're going to do it today. And I have got myself prepared. I've got my sinks cleaned, got my vents off. I do have a fan running right now because I'm not ready to pressure can. But once I get that pressure canner up and running, the fan will be turned off because I do not want any kind of air change in the room while these jars are cooling. So that is a very important step to remember. This is going to be done in my rival cooker that I have, my roasting pan, because I do not have a big enough pan to do these in on top of my stove, but I will show you what it looks like inside my roasting pan and how I do it. So without further ado, we're going to get started. Okay y'all, I am going to start by chopping my celery up, and while I'm chopping, I'm just going to do the whole stalk of it, the whole thing. I'm not just going to do one piece, but I'm going to do it all up, because what I have left over can either go in the dehydrator or the freezer, and it will be one less job I have to do later. Okay, these are not looking very clean. Can y'all see all that dirt? I'm going to rinse these, and then I'll be right back. I got the celery fairly clean, but I wanted to show you I use a peeler to take the strings off of celery, and it really works good. And I'm just going to do this so you can see it. It doesn't take but a couple of extra minutes to go through your celery and take all those strings off. I'm just going to show you that it takes the strings off. Can you see those strings hanging? All the strings are now off my celery, and I can chop it. I'm going to go through all my celery and get it prepared, and then we're going to chop. I'm also going to chop up all these with the leaves on it. The leaves have a lot of flavor in it, but I did take off the dead ends. We're just going to get them all chopped up and get them in our bowl. Back over here. I'm not supposed to be over there. lined up. You can slice these as thin or as thick as you want. You can dice them. There's a number of ways you can prepare these. And I like having some already done up in my freezer for the holidays, so all I have to do is pull it out and I don't have to do all the chopping. And we have 3 more ribs to do. Turn that one around. And we're going to get them finished. We've got those diced up pretty good, or sliced up. My friend sent me over a couple of oddball bell peppers. I'm just going to rinse them off. We're going to get them chopped up. You can use frozen chopped bell peppers if you have them available. I've used them before and there's no problems. I'm just going to take the seed pods out of here and we're going to save the seeds. I've got a little plate of bell pepper seeds I'm saving them on. And some of the seeds are good, some of them are not. We're just going to try to sort through them once they're all dry. Set that right there. We'll give the cap to the chickens. Take this other seed pod out. And I usually just save the seed just like that. Okay, I'll move this out of the way. These are all sliced up and then we're going to chop them. Now the recipe doesn't call for a lot of bell pepper, so any bell pepper left over I can either dehydrate or I can put in my freezer. And we're just going to gather these up. you can get them cut them any way that you want. If you want slices in there, you can just leave them in slices, or you can chop them up like I'm chopping them up, or you can put them through the food mill or through a food processor. We're going to get them in here, and I'm going to chop that onion up. And these will go in the refrigerator until I'm ready to use them. Y'all have seen me chop onions many times and leave the root end on. This time I'm just going to cut it off. And I'm going to get this peeling off. I'm almost out of my Valdelia onions that we bought earlier this year. Of course, we gifted some to some friends, and we were happy to do so. And we're going to just chop this up. I'll slice it in half and go to chopping. And this also, I can freeze any leftovers I have, put them in baggies, double bag them in the freezer so you don't have the odor leaching out onto all your other food. Or I could dehydrate them. And I'm going to flip this over because it's wanting to be wonky. And we have quickly diced up all our vegetables that are going into our stewed tomatoes. I'm going to go ahead and get all these into my bowl and get these in the refrigerator. Okay, I have 1 gallon of frozen tomatoes, 2 gallons of fresh tomatoes that I've halved, added to the pot. So this basically triples the recipe, which calls for 16 cups of chopped tomatoes or diced tomatoes, however you want to fix them. So this is the tomatoes, and they're looking pretty good, and my pot is full. And we're going to get these cooked down. Okay, the recipe calls for 16 cups of chopped, cored peeled tomatoes, and that would equal 1 gallon. And I have peeled mine, cored them, and cut mine in half. You can cut them in quarters, halves, or you can slice them however you want to do them. I found that doing them in half gives me a better tomato product. For each batch that I'm making, it would take 1 cup of celery, a half a cup of onion, and a 1/4 cup of seeded green bell pepper that's been chopped. All of these have been chopped. And it would take 1 tablespoon of sugar, 2 teaspoons of salt, and it says bottled lemon juice or citric acid, and I'm going to use citric acid in my jars. And I'm going to go ahead and get my pressure canner set up and get the water heating. My jars are in my dishwasher. I'm going to fill them with hot water before I fill my jars. This will cook let's see. You want to bring it to a boil, and you want to stir to break up the tomatoes, and boil for about 10 minutes. While I'm doing this in my roasting pan, it may take a little bit longer to get it to where it needs to be, and I will be back when we get that done, but I am going to show you the ingredients that I'm putting in there and how much I'm putting in. Now, some of the tomatoes I had frozen were already done up as stewed tomatoes, so I'm going to cut back just a little bit on my ingredients, but I'm going to tell you the total amount for a tripled recipe so that you'll know that when I put them in. Okay, for each gallon I would put in 1/4 cup of bell peppers, and I would just sprinkle them over the top. And remember, there's some bell peppers already in there. I'm going to use 1 cup of celery. For each batch would be 3 cups of celery. So here goes my first. That's 2 cups. And then I would put in a 1/3 cup. I'm just going to add a little bit more. And for the onion, it would be 1/2 cup of onion for each batch of tomatoes that I put in there, or each gallon. So it would be 1.5 cups of onion, and I'm going to go ahead and add my onion in for my 2 gallons that did not have any onion in it. And we're going to let this cook for a little bit. Okay, for each gallon of tomatoes I would use 2 teaspoons of salt, and since this is tripled, I'm going to use 2 tablespoons would equal 6 teaspoons. So we're going to sprinkle that over the top. One tablespoon of sugar, and my recipe's tripled, so I'm going to put 3 tablespoons of sugar across the top. And I'm going to allow this to cook down just a little while, and we will be back when it's ready to can. See, you can see my canner is full, and I'm going to get my lid on. And I've got my gauge set to steam. We're going to wait for that to come to steam. I'm going to go ahead and get these jars ready to go in the oven, and we'll be back when these are processed. And to process, you would allow this to vent for 10 minutes. After that 10 minutes, you're going to close your valve. I'm going to set it for number 2 on here, which will be 10 pounds of pressure. I'm going to wait for my gauge to get up to pressure. My gauge is a little off. I know the sweet spot on it. And we are going to process pints for 15 minutes and quart jars for 20 minutes. So let's get this going. Once the process time is up, I'm going to slowly turn my burner off. I'm going to allow this pressure canner to come off of pressure, and it takes approximately 40 minutes according to TFal. Once that pressure gauge over here is back down to 0, there's no steam coming out my vent pipe, I will take the lid off and allow it to cool for an additional 5 minutes before starting to remove the jars. Okay, my timer just went off. I have no more steam. My dial is down to 0. And we're going to remove the lid. We're going to allow them to sit for 5 minutes before we take them out. Alrighty, y'all, we're going to start taking these out. They're going to have some separation. The ones on the top didn't have as many tomatoes in them. There's that half pint, y'all. Looks good. They will settle down into the liquid as they cool. We're going to get as many down here as we can, get this canner filled back up and get it started. And I have my supper cooking. So we're going to be busy around here. So, there's the first 9. First 9 pints, or 8.5 pints. I'm going to get this tray out of here. Looks like we had a little bit of seepage on that one. They're looking good, y'all. Looking very good. And we are complete with the first batch, and I will show you the finished product at the end of this.